All right, I'm going to do another little test here showing you how the Yannica Hydra team runs with a Loki instead of a Duchess or a Tatura. This is the comp that will let you go, not infinite, but it will let you not have the head of Mischief die. And that means that then you can keep popping heads for a long time. And it saves you a ton of RNG on the run. There's still the RNG of getting your shield stolen early, but none of the RNG of hoping for respawns. So it guarantees that you have a lot more chance to go for higher damages. And I'm going to show you my presets for it, and then I will get into the run and I'll show you the different setup options. So I don't use the presets instantly because we have a little setup at the beginning, but these are my presets. And these speeds obviously include my Hydra bonuses, but they don't have to be this. It just lets me start my damage at a turn number that I am familiar with because I've been running this for a while now. So 291 on Emic, 289 on Nia to make sure that they are close to each other for resetting and going. Yannica nice and slow to stack up lots of turns of the buffs. Wixwell should be a little faster, but I can't get him any faster in the sets he needs to be in. Loki fast because he needs to go before the champion who is going to be in immunity, and Mitha in that same speed range so that her turn or her increase turn of buffs doesn't let stuff fall off. Real quick, I've got Emic in a immunity set because Loki needs something to spread so you can get immunity. And then I've got shield sets on Demitha and Nia, a provoke set on Yannica, and merciless plus reflex on Wixwell. Get a good run going first. So we're going to spread the immunity from Emic. That's why Loki has to go before your champion who has an immunity set. We get our second shielder up. We're going to reset Loki so he can keep doing Veils faster. We're going to extend all our buffs. And we're going to extend here. Now, I prefer to do the RNG extend here. Because if we use this first, we start stacking our shields faster. But there is an RNG chance that Mischief will steal Loki's buffs. But it's the very first turn, and I would rather get these shields stacking faster and just reset a few times. If you want there to be no RNG here, you would just put the interstep stacks on Emic right away, and that would mean that Emic will guaranteedly get targeted. But I'd rather do this and just chance the RNG here of one of these three being the ones who gets hit, and then it isn't the Loki. And then I'm targeting left head with Yannica. She has a provoke set. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't really matter. You just don't want her getting feared. Now he can keep spreading the veil to more people here. This is another RNG part of this opening setup. I don't want him spreading this counterattack around. And when he spreads the counterattack around, sometimes so he has like a 25% chance of spreading that instead of one of those other buffs. And then I would just reset the run because it's too annoying to have extended counterattack buffs. Because then once the counterattack buff gets stolen, then you have to deal with all the heads counterattacking and it's just not worth it. So as you can see, there is a lot of RNG in the first 2-3 turns, but it's worth it because it's just the first 2-3 turns. I don't mind resetting. It's the way my comp goes. There are some improvements that can be made. If I made sure that Wixwell was slightly faster than Demitha here, then Wixwell would go get feared, then Demitha would cleanse it with her A2 before it got back around to Wixwell's turn. But turn order for me doesn't work out that way, so Wixwell ends up with a fear that I have to 50-50 it. But it doesn't really matter if it goes off. But here, Nia I don't mind if she gets feared. As you can see, the cooldown isn't available for that. Cleanse it. So now I'm going to try placing Intercept, and I got it, so that's convenient. But if I hadn't, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Because until this first 14 turns, Devour counter goes all the way down, it's fine with whatever sort of happens. And then we're going to just keep going in circles here. This is why we don't care if the Nia got feared there, because she's just going to try an A1 again. And then we're going to, now that Wixwell has his Veil, he's not going to be getting the fears anymore. Basically, we just have to keep going around. And so here is where last turn would have made more sense for me to start the ally protection, because now I hit and she's feared again. So now I have to chance this resetting, and I'm going to try resetting the Wixwell because Loki is already about to do his next Veil. So I'd rather have it try and cool down the Wixwell's A2. So we're going to extend, and then we should be able to extend from the Wixwell. We just cooled it down. Now we can Veil up the Nia. Actually, here's where we can't Veil the Nia. So this is another part of this opener, is that if both Demitha and Wixwell have just used their buff extensions, you have to wait a turn on this. Because if you use this on Nia, it'll drop off before either of them get to extend it. So you just have to A1 for a turn and wait, and then place it next turn, because then they'll get to extend it. And then now we're below 10 turns here, so the next time the Emic Nia get around to their abilities, it goes into the Emic Nia combo of just Nia has to always reset Emic with her A2. So we're going to ally protect here so that Nia doesn't get feared. Then we will place the Veil onto Nia here. And then we will start our cycle here with Emic and Nia, because otherwise Demitha will get devoured. We get our nice refreshes from Wixwell's Merciless and Reflex combo, so he's getting some extra refreshes on the cooldown, which helps us stack our shields faster. Now we have to cool down Emic, because otherwise he doesn't get his skills back. And we are off to the races. And basically here, we have to kind of just do the same thing again. We just did 2 extensions here, so we can't use Loki's A2. We have to wait a turn. We do our Emic. We do our Nia. And then we basically just have to get Veil onto Demitha and Yannica. So they always just attack the left head over and over until it's available. I always do Yannica last. Technically, Yannica can add her own if she needs to with her A2. She would lose a turn on her buffs, so there's no need for that. We just keep doing our rotation. And now since Wixwell just did his extend, I know that he'll get it cooled down enough that I can now use this Loki. Onto Yannica. And now we can hit auto. Now, what we have to do, we have to watch this intercept buff, because we have Torment. Anytime Torment lands the 2-turn fear, it's going to lose a turn off of our intercept stack. So anytime that happens, we have to take it off auto and have Wixwell refresh the intercept buff onto Emic. Now, there's a little bit of leeway for this. I mean, obviously, it's got 2 turns. If it drops down to 1, what I like to do is I take it off auto. I'll show you how it goes once it happens. And I'll explain my thought process. So here, you can see it just went to 1 turn. So what I do is I look up here at this. Because when this is on 1 turn, he will never fear on that ability. This ability doesn't do the single target fear. So I know right here that it doesn't matter what Wixwell has up. Because basically, I always want to be using Wixwell's A2 whenever possible. I don't want to be wasting a turn of it when it's available to use. So right here, I don't want to refresh it because I want to use this A2. But I know that he's got 1 turn left, and I know that he basically he's going to use this. It might drop off. That's okay. And if it does, I still have an extra turn to come back around to this because then he'll be using the AoE the next time. So I will just let it keep going. You can see it did drop off there. And this is where I could even not put it up right here because I know I've got an extra turn to do that. But I want to do it in case Wixwell gets refresh procs. So right here, I got refresh procs, so I want to be able to use that next turn. So I do want to use this turn. All right, just go back to auto. So here we are at turn 120. This is where I like to start, with my speeds at least. And this time around, what I decided to do is I used Loki's A3 once to get the increased attack spread around to everyone. So now Loki and Demitha should be at 9 buffs. Wixwell and Emic should be at 10 buffs. And then Yannica's also at 9, and Nia's down at 8. So what we're going to try and do, we're going to try and get 10 buffs up onto Demitha and up onto Loki, because what I've found is that if you only have it on Loki, the amount of time that it takes to get a set of buffs stolen ends up being really high, because Loki has a 30% chance to dodge it with his misstep, and he's 30% chance to get picked in the first place because he has to share 10 buffs with Wixwell and Emic. So it can end up delaying being able to get buffs onto enemies if you only have Loki as your only other 10th buff champion. So from here on, I decided to just do it as voiceover because it would take an hour and a half to run out the rest of the run at normal speed. So it's much more efficient to do it this way because I don't want to make you watch a 90-minute video. So basically what I am trying to do is get the first round of buffs popped. Here I get in trouble because the buffs get stolen immediately right back again by Mischief, so I can't pop, otherwise Mischief will die. So I have to let all these buffs expire off of the heads and start it over again. So then I just leave it, don't steal them back, wait for him to get back to his turn and spread them again. And then I get them stolen back and popped. So I get first one there. And then Loki is back up at 10 buffs. It'll look like he only has 9 because when he steals back the intercept buff, it doesn't show up on his bar anymore. But if you go into the info section, you can see that he actually still has 10 buffs on him, and the intercept buff properly shows up there. So basically it's a waiting game trying to get them to hit Loki, and then I do end up putting a set of buffs onto Yannica as well. Go here for the second pop, and there it is. And they all still live for a turn. The buffs get stolen again because I had put a 10th buff onto Yannica. They get stolen again immediately, but I decided to steal them back because otherwise they would only have spread onto a single head. So now we're back to the point where Loki has 10 buffs, but Yannica got hers stolen and then lost them all. So I'm going to just try and wait for Loki to get them stolen again and try and get a 10th buff stacked back up onto Yannica. What I realize is that Yannica is now no longer got the shield from the shield set. So then I put a 10th buff onto Yannica and pop from her because then she's also got 10 buffs now. So we're trying to get 10 buffs back up onto either Yannica or Yannica, continuing to spread the long duration high HP shields with Loki's A2 from anyone who still has the long shield. But at some point here we realize, so what happens right there is a shield set gets stolen, but then the decay head overwrites it, and so we lose that set. So then we're at the point where nobody has a shield from the shield set that is in a easily stealable position. So I decide to go with the Yannica A3 and start stacking up the continuous heals. And that's kind of annoying because you don't want to do that while decay is alive. You want to try and pop it so that decay is dead before you start spreading continuous heals. But I didn't really have a choice at this point. So I go through and I just start putting continuous heals up, get those spread around, get them popped. But what happens is the heads won't die after this because there's continuous heals on them. So it gives decay a chance to put up the shield. So we got another pop there. And then we're going to get another one right there. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to kill off decay. Because if we can get a set of heads that doesn't have decay, then we can really quickly stack up a whole bunch of pops in a row. But with decay, we're always fighting that chance of him putting the shield onto either mischief and popping all of our big shields when he overwrites them onto mischief, or just on one of the other heads and we lose a bunch of damage because that head then has to wait out a bunch of turns before he can get a shield again. So we are looking for ways that we can put buffs onto them with potentially no unkillable. So like right here, what happens is I managed to spread buffs on without spreading unkillable, which lets me kill off all of the heads that except for mischief. Because I made sure mischief had a couple continuous heals, stole the buffs back, so he's actually still got some health. And then right here is where things get good, because we get a perfect set of respawns. So we get no decay, and now basically we just don't want to ever let any of these heads die ever again. We're going to always spread continuous heal and unkillable onto all of them, steal back off of mischief, and then pop the 3, let them heal back up with continuous heals, and just do that on a rotation. So when I hit turn 1,000, I was under 5 billion, but from 1,000 to 1,500 in the last 500 turns, I got a lot more. So basically, all of these heads pretty much stay alive forever now, because they're always getting at least 1 or 2 continuous heals onto them along with unkillable, so that when they get popped, they have a 2 turns of continuous heals to heal back up with. And then Mischief just keeps getting to steal and spread and steal and spread. Basically, they go back onto Loki, the 10 buffs, and then they drop off again. They get stolen. They go back. So he keeps 10 buffs, keeps getting a chance for them to get stolen over and over and over again, which is a pretty slick little system. And it doesn't matter that there is a poison cloud. She'll pop right through poison cloud. It doesn't. The one thing you want to try not to do is you don't want to let Suffering have his little 2-turn extra turn right when the buffs get spread to him, because otherwise he'll just drop the buffs off again instantly. But that is pretty much what it goes to. And the turn limit is fast approaching, but because none of the heads are ever dying and I don't have to worry about the shield from decay, it gets really smooth at this point. And as long as you can keep 10 buffs up on somebody and keep getting them stolen, use Loki to spread back the buffs around to people if they get stolen from, then right there I knew that I just was running out of turns, decided to let everything pop. Because I knew that I could still not have Mischief pop. And then knew that I basically only had one more chance here. So I had to get everything up, get one more good steal from Mischief if I could before I ran out of turns. Got kind of lucky that Decay didn't respawn here. It would have been much more awkward because Mischief would have been the lowest HP. But I had a bit of trouble here getting 10 buffs back up onto somebody. But I did manage to get this steal back up and went for a final pop on all the heads. Didn't mind that Mischief died because I only had like 5 turns left. And that was it. And I got myself a little 14 billion damage. That's it.